Theory podcast, but with your host, Zach Stuckey. Guess what, guys? On this podcast, we talk all things jobs theory and customer centric operations. And we know that your customer doesn't really care about you. In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about two different stories. The first one is about a startup called Unest and the interesting implications for the rest of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. The next story is going to be about Vertex and a new drug that they have coming on the market to address one of the largest market opportunities in the world. It's big news. So let's dive in. First story is about Unest. Now, Unest is an app. It was a service that helped parents and students save money for college, weddings, down payments for homes, big expenditures like that. Recently in a Series A, they raised a lot of money, or excuse me, Series B, they raised they raised a lot of money at a valuation of $126 million. I just want to get my numbers right here. This is according to PitchBook. Now, last week, actually on the 11th, the CEO named, I want to be sure I'm pronouncing this right, Ksenia Yudina, resigned. And in the letter, in the resignation letter, she said, "I regret to inform you I resigned from my position as CEO of Unest following the board meeting of 10/11." So this is just last week. The company is currently insolvent and is in default with our venture debt provider, Silicon Valley Bank, in the amount of $3 million. Now, why does this matter? Well, let's take a look at jobs theory, right? So jobs theory says that your customers don't buy your product or service. They hire it to help them make progress in their life. One of the big problems that we have in our entrepreneurial ecosystem in the United States was this prevalence of easy money. So a lot of people don't know this. It's something like 60% of the unicorns out there. So businesses, startups that have reached over $1 billion valuation, businesses like Lyft, Uber, let's see, Stripe, I think is one of them. Lots of these larger businesses that have gotten over $1 billion in valuation aren't profitable, meaning they are driven by capital investment from outside resources. So what this means is that a lot of businesses out there that you think are successful businesses, that you think are good stock bets, that you think are wise decisions, are actually horrible decisions. And they use all of the money from their investors to basically kick the can down the road because they couldn't find a way to make the profit model work. Right? So what does this have to do with jobs theory? Well, the jobs theory says that your customer is hiring you to help them make progress. But a lot of these investors come into these and say, "Oh, is this a great idea? And can this help me 10x?" And they're not thinking about things from the perspective of the customer. What is the progress your customer is actually trying to make? So what that means is that they would just throw money at these things, hoping that they're going to get 10x. It was basically a big casino. Now, as the era of easy money or not easy money, but easily available money is going away, a lot of businesses are going under, a lot of startups. The article that I pulled this from, which is from Business Insider, said, and I want to give you the exact numbers because it blew me away. It said, according to Crunchbase data, 132 startups have ceased operations so far this year. That's a lot. And we're entering an era in business, in entrepreneurship in the United States where easy money will no longer be the norm. And investors are going to be a lot tighter with their money, and they're not going to have that money to just throw out there and see what sticks, right? So you as a business owner have to be far more clear, especially if you're seeking outside investment. You have to be far more clear on what is your customer actually hiring you to do, and how can you do that profitably, so that the money your investors are putting into your company is really just about taking that time horizon and shrinking it, right? It's not about actually getting to the money faster. No, you found the money, you know how to get the money. It's just, I need a little bit more money to bring the rest of that in. Imagine it this way. Imagine that you own a plot of land, and you found some gold on that land, and you hired a geologist to come and dig deeper. And the geologist said, this is one of the richest veins of gold in all of North America. And you say, hot diggity dog, I'm going to be rich. Well, at that point, right, you have some money from gold that you've invested into that business, but you're going to need outside investment probably to really take advantage of this gold mining opportunity, which means that you have to prove, yes, this is what the geologist says, this is what we've done, this is the gold that I've found, this is how much, and really back that stuff up in order to get the money. But the investors know the money is there and the time horizon is there, right? So moving forward, investment in the United States and in the West in general is going to be a lot more tight-fisted, and you're going to have to be a lot clearer on what your customer is actually hiring you to do. So how do you do that? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. You just got to talk to them. But when you talk to them, you can't talk to them the way that you would talk to somebody else. Bob Mesta, one of the founders of Jobs Theory, says that it's actually a lot closer to like intelligence and criminal investigation interrogation without the pressure. He also says, look at it more like a documentary, like you're interviewing someone for a documentary. And when you do that, you get more insight into the life of this customer, because you're not looking for, why did you buy my product? You're looking for, what was this struggling moment that caused you to say, I need to look outside of the current solutions that I'm using to find a better option. And then you build the better mousetrap, right? And you say, I have a set of core competencies in my business that allow me to do X, Y, and Z. So I can turn off these features that aren't delivering any value to my customer, and instead invest the money that I was spending on those features to these features that my customer is actually getting benefit from. One example that Bob likes to cite that I think is genius is the Intercom example. So Intercom adopted Jobs Theory when they were about 5 million in sales. And what they did is they started looking, and they found 4 basic jobs that were different. And what they realized is that they don't have 4 they don't have one offer or one service. They have 4 different tools that are all kind of wrapped up in one. And so instead of selling based off of features and benefits, they sold based off of the job and the struggling moment that the customer was coming to them with. And what that did is they actually grew by leaps and bounds. I think the number that Bob said was like 5 million in like 1 year. They doubled the size of their business. And within 10 years, they reached over $1 billion, unicorn status, profit. They were profitable. That was the key, right? Because remember, Lyft, Uber, Stripe, I think Facebook, a lot of these businesses are not profitable. They're not turning a profit. They're relying on investor money to make the business go. And so having a profitable unicorn it's unheard of. So that was a very powerful example of Jobs Theory. The next story that we're going to move on to is this Vertex. So one of the biggest things that we're facing in the United States is this opioid epidemic. I follow politics like some guys follow football. And the opioid epidemic is huge. It's killing thousands of Americans every year through consumption of bad pills, And it really is destroying our society. It's a really huge problem, and people on both sides of the aisle agree that it's a problem. We just don't know what to do about it, because largely all of our pain medication is based off of opium, which is a highly addictive substance. So Oxycontin, heroin, um, let's see what else, um, all of this stuff, laudanum, fentanyl, right? All of this stuff is based off of opium, which is a highly addictive substance, and it's very numbing. It numbs you so that either you don't feel the pain or you don't care about the pain that you feel. It's really, really bad. Um, Now, this article about Vertex, it says that Vertex has a huge opportunity. They're developing a drug to treat acute pain that is not an opioid. Now, we talk about the job that people are hiring you to do. Another thing that I like to talk about is innovation. And there are actually three types of innovation. The first type of innovation is efficiency innovation. And what efficiency innovation is you're doing something. Now, how can you do it more profitably? How can you do it more efficiently? Right? So that's efficiency innovation. Then you have sustaining innovation, which grows your market share by doing what you do for customers cheaper, faster, better. You basically understand the progress that they're hiring you to make. Remember jobs theory. So they're hiring you to make. You understand that progress. And then you do it better than anybody else on the market. And that grows market share consistently. There are about 100 different case studies I could point you to. So um, that's sustaining innovation is what that one's called. The last one is called disruptive innovation. Now, most people think disruptive innovation is just the latest shiny new technology, like Apple's latest gadget, but it's not. Disruptive innovation is about taking existing technology that we have and repackaging it in new ways to serve an underserved market. So, what this article is talking about is disruptive innovation. There's a job out there that isn't being done, right? Or it's not being done as efficiently or effectively as we would like, which is I want to get rid of pain without getting addicted. I want to get rid of pain without having to use an opiate, because the addiction rates are higher and the likelihood of overdosing is higher, death is higher. It's a huge societal problem. So this company out here, if they can really do what they're talking about doing, they have the opportunity to do um, basically a massive disruptive innovation that will literally change the face of the market, because they're going to serve people who could not be served before. It says that Vertex, which makes most of its revenue from cystic fibrosis treatment, has late-stage trials underway for the pain drug known as VX548. Vertex has said its goal is to create a new class of prescription medications that relieve pain and address the potential shortcomings of opioids, namely their addictive potential. If they can do this, if they can pull it off, which getting FDA approval is actually really, really difficult. But if they can pull this off, it would be game changing. It would be completely revolutionary in the world of medicine. Again, I mean, opioids were huge and completely game changing, because before that, we didn't really have any pain medication other than get really, really drunk, or maybe some form of ether where we're just going to knock you out with ether and then do what we have to do. So if we can do this, it would be a huge step forward in prescription pain medication. So I am excited to see what comes of this. But again, look at the way that these pharmaceutical companies are addressing this. They're looking at it from the perspective of what is a problem that patients have that the market cannot currently solve, right? And everybody says that that's the best way to build a business, which is true. But remember, you have to put your customer front and center, and you have to look at what capabilities do you have to solve those problems, And how does that align with what you're already doing? And you have to think about this from a strategic perspective, which is what pharmaceutical companies are doing all the time. So, one of the things that I would recommend is thinking like a pharmaceutical company, putting your customer front and center, talking to them to understand the progress that they're hiring you to make, and building a business model that does not rely on outside money. You can use outside money. I'm not saying don't use it, but you can use outside money to shorten the horizon for you to reach your cash out point or something like that. But if you're not profitable before you're seeking investment, at this point, it's going to be a moot point. Investors just won't let go of their money. And this is a huge thing for me. I've got my master's in business with an emphasis in entrepreneurship. And the main thing that they taught us is how to grow your business using other people's money, how to pitch to get other people's money. And the world is about to get pitch slapped. All right, fine. That was a stupid joke, but guys, come on. we gotta ease things in here a little bit. Anyway, this is Zach Stuckey signing off. Remember, your customer doesn't care about you. They care about making profit.